Hey, it's Sam. I have the October 2017 forecast for you. New moons, full moons, and Saturn moving back into Sagittarius. So, October 1st through 6th, we have Mars and Venus closely conjunct in Leo. And so when Mars and Venus closely join, we can expect maybe some butting heads in our romantic relationships a little bit. But it can also show the sort of aftermath of such conflicts, which may even be some increased sort of closeness and libido. Mars and Venus conjunctions often show a lot of desire and a lot of, you might even say, sort of lust. In this case, it's actually Mars and Venus in Leo, of course, which is the sign of our own individual pride and, sense of, personal strength. So we may feel not as appreciated. At least the Venus part of us will suffer a little bit more in that transit. Again, from about the 1st to the 6th, they'll be very close in Leo, but then it's a good time to really establish your individual sort of turf and make sure that you're being appreciated because you're the king or the queen or your big bad self. So there might be some battles over this, but ultimately it can lead to some nice sort of make-up romance kind of thing. But notice that that tendency for intensity around that time. October the 5th, we have the full moon in Pisces. So within that Mars-Venus that I just mentioned, we'll have the full moon in Pisces on October the 5th. And of course, this is the halfway point in the recent Virgo cycle because we just had the recent new moon in Virgo. So we're working on becoming more precise and methodical and practical and detail oriented. So the full moon in Pisces is where we unite with the opposite energy, which is Pisces, which is where we sort of trust that everything is working out the way it should be. We kind of relax into the greater good, and we aren't so, focused on minutia. And so that'll be important now to really harmonize and balance the literal details of Virgo with the trust in the bigger picture. Now this will happen in Revati Nakshatra, which is ruled by the god Pushan, who is the shepherd energy. So this is the last nakshatra in the zodiac, the end of Pisces. And again, it's where the soul is completing its course, completing its journey. So there may be a theme of completions and endings today as we have this full moon. So try to relax and surrender into that trust of the universe and feel that great compassion and devotion of Pisces and Revati Nakshatra, opposite the literal and practical nature of Virgo. So then a few days later, October 9th and the 10th, the moon is exalted in Taurus for those couple of days, and it's also aspected by Saturn in Scorpio. So Saturn is around the end of Scorpio, about to go into Sagittarius again. And so this exalted moon is really a time when we can feel connected to the heart and really trust our feelings and emotions. And again, the heart, or I should say the moon, is also that sort of connection to our memories and our past and our childhood, and that continuity of your identity and awareness. Think back when you were a child. Even though it seems like you're totally different, like you can't imagine, there's something about it that still feels like you, right? So that connection, we feel that in the moon. It's our mind, it's our awareness and our feelings that has sustained us, and it's always evolving greater compassion and love and wisdom. That's the process of the moon. And so when the moon is exalted, we can relax, and a lot of that relaxing into the Taurus energy is trusting our past, trusting even maybe not our family, but at least the stable family that we have built and the structures in our life, and relaxing into them and feeling that roots and those deep roots in our mind and heart. So again, the aspect from Saturn in Scorpio, though, is to bring solitude, introspection, duty, commitment, so that it's not just a sort of attachment, which we can often feel when the moon is in Taurus. We can feel an attachment to those things, like attachment to our family, to our values, even to things like our money. But the influence of Saturn brings a great presence and awareness, solitude, silence, and stillness into that, and the willingness to go deep into those things that are more uncertain and more unstable, which are the Scorpio areas of life. So harmonizing the stable with the intense and dynamic will be important on October 9th and 10th. And then a few days later, October 13th through 14th, we have the moon join Rahu in Cancer. So Rahu has just gone into Cancer. So this transit of Rahu through Cancer is going to show a sort of obsession over our feelings, over our emotions, and the need for the next year and a half or so to stabilize our emotions. And stabilizing our emotions, we sink deeper into our heart. So rather than riding up and down on the waves of emotion, we go deeper into devotion in the heart. Something that's deeper than just the momentary roller coaster of Maya that we're on. So on October 13th and 14th, with the moon joined Rahu in Cancer, Rahu is going to bring this kind of volatility and almost kind of obsessive emotion into our life for these next couple of days. It could be a sort of addictive emotional quality. But again, because it's in Cancer and the moon is the ruler of Cancer, it's going to bring a great potential for us to literally sink into the truth of the heart, rather than just being bounced around on the waves of emotion, which is normally what happens. And particularly when the moon gets close to Rahu, first that's what happens. So you have to understand that Rahu as a sort of disruptive force is not necessarily bad. It just gives a lot of energy and a lot of potential volatility. But that volatility is also a lot of potential. So you can think of it like surfing the waves. Rahu gives a big wave, but the bigger the wave, the further it takes you. I've actually started surfing a little bit now that I moved to San Diego, a little bit. And the little waves don't take you as fast, as far. The bigger waves are more dangerous, but they also take you further. So this Rahu moon in Cancer for the 13th and 14th of October might be a big emotional wave, but that big emotional wave can also really take you deeper into your heart at that time. Then October 19th, we have the new moon in Libra with Jupiter and Mercury. So the sun, moon, Jupiter, and Mercury are all in Libra, creating this new moon. And so, of course, the new moon cycles are very important. They've always been important, way back into the mists of time, back into the ancient Vedas. They've always measured the new moon cycles as the cycles of the year. This is why there are 12 months in the year, because there are 12 new moons each year. There are 12 new moons each year on average. So this is the beginning of the Libra cycle. And so for the next 30 days, it'll be a time to really understand our relationship with this Libra energy, which is other people, compromising with them, honoring other people's wishes equal to our own. It's opposite that Aries energy, which is our own individuality and will. Libra is where we yield that in order to harmonize our energy with another. So rather than it just being about my happiness and my pleasure, it's about sharing that with another. So that will be important for the next 30 days. Now the fact that this new moon in Libra is joined both Jupiter and Mercury. Jupiter and Mercury are the two planets of intelligence and discrimination and wisdom. So literally, there's a way that information gathering and data, which is Mercury, just sort of, what's this, and just sort of gathering information, becomes wisdom. And that's by testing and trying things that we think and experimenting and being curious about new ways of doing things eventually leads to higher wisdom and teachings and being able to speak the truth and speaking our words and having them coming back to us, measuring them against time-tested great spiritual teachers, which is Jupiter. All of these themes will be very important for the next 30 days. And then also basically not just enjoying that for yourself, but also connecting that wisdom and those things that you express and learn with others will be very important, because it's, of course, the Libra principle. So you want also, get my forecast to see how this will influence all 12 of the zodiac signs, including yours. Those who are members of my Vedic Astrology Training Lab get these updates automatically. If you're not a member, you can join for only 50 cents. And you can get the forecast for your sign both on the full moons and the new moons. So that full moon that I talked about that was in Pisces on October the 5th, it's important to know how that's going to influence your sign. Because it's different for an Aries, which is the 12th house, than Sagittarius, where it's the 4th house. Same is true with this new moon. So these lunation cycles are really the cycles of our life. These are the months that we actually live. These are the real months. These lunation cycles between new moon and new moon are really the most important months that we live. And it's impossible to codify these months through a calendar because it's based on the sun, moon, and earth lining up. So we try to mimic these 12 cycles with 12 months in the year, because at least approximately, each calendar month will have one new moon and one full moon. So I don't want to get too off on that, but this is why these are the real months that we live. And the calendar months, and even zodiac signs themselves, are to approximate these sun-moon cycles. So then October 19th, we have, I already did that one, the new moon in Libra. Oh, sorry, it happens in Chitra Nakshatra. So again, one of the things about this new moon in Libra is it's about sharing and accommodating. So we can't compromise too much and then fight with the other person because we didn't have good boundaries. So the great lesson of Libra is good boundaries. Not compromising too much to please another person and then resenting them because we sold our values down the drain. That leads to a fight and unbalances the scales. So mutual respect, mutual accommodation is the common principle in the Libra cycle. So it happens in Chitra Nakshatra, and Chitra is ruled by Vishwakarma, the celestial architect, the one who created the universe. So this universal architect, this Vishwakarma, is the one that allows us to build a beautiful life. It's partly in Virgo, partly in Libra. The Libra part is where we build good relationships, where we build good partnerships more than anything. But it's also very passionate, very creative, so you can experience that passion and creativity now. And that literally could be where you're creative with your partner. We want our partnership to be something that's bigger than just our own pleasure and happiness. This is why one of the most rewarding things you can do is build something with your partner, even if it's just building a family. But when you share in a project with your partner, it often feels really good. This is that Chitra part of Libra. So October 22nd and 23rd, shortly after that new moon in Libra, the moon goes into Scorpio and joins Saturn. At the very end of Scorpio, Saturn is about to go into Sagittarius again, but October 22nd and 23rd, the moon joins joins Saturn in Scorpio. So this could, be a time of these intense and perhaps even sort of paranoid emotions. You need to be careful of that. You need to stay grounded, practical, humble. So again, instead of getting spun out on trying to control things or people, go deeper into the heart, October 22nd and 23rd, and really feel the love and joy and peace in your heart. And realize, especially because we're in this Libra cycle, that anytime you sense that the other person is oppressing you or hurting you, and your happiness or comfort or whatever comes from them, then you've lost yourself, and you need to find that sense of strength and peace in your own heart. Of course, many times that means we have to cut people out of our life who are destructive, but we can do that with calm and love and with joy, without anger, hostility, and destroying our own emotional state. So the reason the moon is debilitated in Scorpio is it's where we tend to destroy our own emotional state due to this paranoia, fear, vulnerability. So resist that, and instead take that power of Saturn, which is the truth of time and humility and reverence for all of the great life lessons, even the hard ones, and going deeper into that and stabilizing your own emotional state rather than trying to control other people or destroy other people. And then finally, at the end of the month, October 26th, Saturn goes back into Sagittarius, where it's going to be for the next couple of years. So Saturn went into Sagittarius early 2017, then it just went back into Scorpio around June of 2017. Now it finally goes back into Sagittarius for the next 2 years or so. 2 years and 3 months or so. So we will be refocused and recommitted to what inspires us and what we want to create, and making a commitment to inspiration and purpose, which is Sagittarius, rather than what we're afraid of, which is Scorpio. So we will feel a return to that inspiration and hope, which came, if you remember back around the end of January, it was actually shortly after the election in the US, we saw a kind of sort of a wave of course it was sad in some ways with a lot of people, but also a renewed activism, a renewed sense of, okay, now we have to really show up and be connected to a higher purpose. Some people, their higher purpose was to put forth the agenda that was represented by Trump. Others, it was this renewed purpose against what, let's say, Trump represented or whatever. But we saw a kind of wave of, protests and demonstrations toward a higher, better future. So besides the political, you want to see this personal as well, that it could be a time when you refocus and recommit to what inspires you and what you want to serve in a higher sense, and what you want to promote and what you want to teach, rather than being fearful. So pay more attention. You can stay in contact with me, and those who have been following me for a long time, we talked quite a bit about this when Saturn went into Sagittarius. So we'll feel that renewed optimism and hope. Of course, it's in the midst of some intensity for sure, but we can notice that as well. Very important long-term transit. So again, this is October 2017. Leave some comments, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'm happy for your attention. And again, if you want to see how these new moons and full moons will affect you, and also get 8 hours of free classes that teach all kinds of cool stuff on Vedic astrology, really powerful trainings on neuroscience and quantum physics and all kinds of free stuff, click the link here and join for only 50 cents. I have a lot of members, close to 150 full-time members in the Vedic Astrology Training Lab, and I'd love to have you as a member as well.